Hi, welcome to class. We're the only two right now, but the other ones will show up eventually, right? I hate my life. I hate my life. A Professor Sunreis Productions! Hello class, Professor Sunreis here. In today's class, we're finally gonna take a look back at Dragon Link. In the past few weeks, I've been testing a lot of voiceless voice, and finally it just became too boring. I topped a regional with it, I topped like a regional level event with it, but it just was too boring in my opinion. The playstyle, while it's very strong of course, it just didn't really click, and it just boring. Skull Guardian Pass wasn't just for me, so I went back to Dragon Link because I figured, hey, there's lots of branded, there's lots of voiceless voices here. The Snake Eye matchup is not completely an auto loss. There's a lot of stun there, and we even got a decent matchup against that. So I went back on Dragon Link, tested from 40-ish cards to 60, everything in between. I tested a lot of stuff, and I think I finally found a very good deck. I went to a regional with it. I got hard sacked. I drew a shit ton of boot sectors in the first round, so that was like my sin, like my whip for like ditching the deck. And then I went 2-2 and dropped because the weather was amazing, and I got like played against Voiceless Voice. But overall, I still think the deck performed very well, and I'm very happy to showcase you guys my theory behind the deck. So without further, don't forget to pat on the subscribe button, this time for real. Don't forget to leave some feedback down in the comment section below, and let's get right into the video. So after recording this whole video once, we will have to do it a second time because I was only recording on my phone, so like the actual picture but not the sound. Anyways, the reason why I decided to play Dragon Link again was first of all because because second of all, Voiceless Voice was kind of boring, but first of all because it just had a very good matchup against the format right now, with the Voiceless Voice and Branded taking up more and more spots, especially here in Germany, like in North Rhine-Westphalia regional scene. There was, I think, as much, like more Branded and Voiceless Voice combined than Snake Eyes. So like 60% Voiceless Voice and Branded, and then like 30% Snake Eyes, and then like the rest just random decks. So like in a regional 7 rounds, you would probably play against 2 Voiceless Voice, 2 Snake Eyes, 2 Branded, 1 random. Like something like that. So in my opinion, just playing Bystials again felt very good. Voiceless Voice does struggle against Branded a lot. I didn't want to get cooked by that, and the mirror was fine. I mostly win that because I heavily respected that with Dark Ruler and Bystials by myself, playing them myself. But I just really wanted to go back to Dragon Link, and I figured because Bystials are so good right now, why not just give it a try? And it performed very well once I actually played a good list. Like I said, I went from 40 to 60 cards, but the problem is, if the reason to play this deck is that Bystials are super good right now, you of course want to get as much Bystials as possible, so going to as close to 40 while maxing out the Bystials definitely is the way to go, just mathematically. So let's get into the deck. Like I said, 43 cards for the starters, 3 Sacred, a Chaos Base, the 3 Black Metal, and a 1-for-1, together with, where are they? The Samsara. So these are the best way to get into your engine, of course. These are standard. Black Metal, I decided to play it again because, yeah, there are lots of hand traps, but this also just lets you help play through hand traps. And if this is the card you have and you've got rid of all of their hand traps, you are gonna win the game because then you get like so much combo. It's insane. And then lastly, Samsara 1-for-1. I want to play Samsara because the utility is just so good. Being able to recycle a Magnumite from the graveyard if your Lobelian got impermed or Veilered, which happens a lot this format, is super good. Dedicated seal target to get more follow-up is very good, because otherwise like there's only Absa Router and like Sacred, but usually you want to have a Sacred in rotation anyway, so definitely comes up a lot in there. Seal Tribute Summon lines are insane. Having the ability to turn any Nip token or anything else into a Bystial again, because you can just do this, get the Bystial, tribute summon over that if you already used the Bystial, for example, to go into an Atomb, to go into a Dispater, to go into another seal. Really good. I really like it. And then 1-for-1, it just makes sense to play if you already have 2 targets for it, and it's another way to push through hand traps and disruption going second. It also plays really well with all of the Bystials while setting up our graveyard with lights and darks. So I really like the 1-for-1. These do come out going second a few times, but overall, definitely leave them in and going first. They are performing crazy good. For Bystials, I play the 3 Drewsworm, 3 Serenier, 3 Lobelian, Baldrake Magnumite. Almost maxing out on them. You couldn't argue to play Baldrake Drewsworm like a 2-2 ratio. But Baldrake just doesn't come up enough unless you're playing Nip going second. Like if you are first, it comes up even rarer because then your opponents can just go battle phase. And the amount of times you draw 2 Bystials, them actually being alive to a point where the opponent wants to go for a Link Summon and then not having a different option to begin with is very, very far and few, right? In theory, you can go like, yeah, if they go into Princess and you tribute a Druid Worm, banish the Baldrake, Druid Worm on the other level 1, yeah, that's insane. But in practice, these have to be on the board already, and then they go into SP, banish the Druid Worm or something, or like target Baldrake, you do this. It doesn't do enough. It doesn't come up enough, let's say, and there's just so much counterplay to do with it, but it's still a good card. I like to have it for like a threatening roar, because we do still have a lot of follow-up, and then, yeah, then go battle phase, run over the Baldrake, but we still have like Seal, Samsara in Graveyard, we resolve the Magnamud, we get the Regen draw, we have 5 cards in hand, and then we can still usually on the crackback kill them. So that's really good for that, and in the end it's just a Bystial to have the proper amount of Bystials to get shit done. Only Regen in the main deck. Definitely don't need the Branded Beast. Forgotten was on the Branded Beast, but I just am too scared of drawing too many bricks. It does come up, definitely. Like going second, a Branded Beast can be nasty. I was always a huge fan of that, and in the past I kept the Branded Beast in, but the format is just too hard for us. The deck just became a little more inconsistent with less Magnamuds and less Chaos Space. I think we have to make some cuts, and that's one of the cuts I am doing. Branded Beast, I don't think there's ever gonna be a format where I'll ever be main decking it, because going for Regen is just way too important, and it's always only an awkward game set where you'd rather go for a Branded Beast than a Regen. So Regen is a Beast is definitely fine to play in the side deck going first. Just draw it as like your non-engine tool, and if you hard draw this or Regen, you are very, very happy to just get more tempo out of your own engine and always be able to press that Lubellion basically, and always get like a +1 for it. Is super, super important, because the way this deck plays now is just very control heavy, and Lubellion basically is the most impactful thing to summon or like to use, so always being able to get value off that is very important, definitely, but I'm just too scared of playing like Branded Beast in the main deck. We're already at 43, right? So for the rest of the small dragons, I decided to play these. No Knock Division, because it was too bad going second and too bad into hand traps. Not low impact hand traps, but Droll and Nip. Especially Nip is super popular still, and the lines it enables just are sometimes very awkward into Nip, because similar to like decks playing Fenrir, this extra summon sometimes just fucks up your summon count, and then suddenly you get a Nip before you go into Romulus, you get Nip before you go into Lubellion, or you can just summon it way too late, and at this point it just becomes super, super awkward. So I decided, because it's super bad going second and not good enough going first, decided not to play it and just stick with them. And with me sticking at 43, you could make the argument, yeah, you could, but also cut these two and then play a 41 card list, draw even more Bystials, and draw even more non-engine. But I will showcase you guys the compared math here of drawing starters, drawing non-engine, and then drawing like Bystials or one-offs. And in my opinion, I think it's just worth it to play the Samsara more, because yeah, the non-engine, like drawing hand traps or like drawing Bystials, is a little lower, but the amount of utility the Samsara gives and the amount of consistency you get from just being able to play, because that is a little higher, is definitely worth it in my opinion, just because the utility Samsara offers and the ability to play through hand traps with just this one extra push definitely shouldn't be underestimated. So I prefer it that way, just because I am a huge Samsara believer. For the rockets, just the bare minimum. Let's put it like that. So we only have 2 Tracer, 3 Quick Launch, a Recharger, Apps, and then the both Field Spells. I just wanted to cut down on bricks, and if you compare the, Caliber can also be just a way to play. You can normal summon it, and it can be fine, but the amount of times you would have a Caliber over a 1-for-1 are basically 0, unless you have a shit ton of Bystials in your hand and a Chaos Base. So I think that just playing 1-for-1, I'd much rather draw 1-for-1 than a Caliber, and the amount of times I missed like using Rocket Tracer is basically 0. You just never miss it if you play accordingly and play around it. If you hard draw the Recharger, going first, if you hard draw the Recharger and you don't have Tracer access, you can just completely skip the step and just don't play with Rocket Engine. That's definitely fine. The deck is capable of doing that. And if you have both, it's just more follow-up, because you don't have to pop your boot, and then you have boot as follow-up, which is always nice to have. In theory, you don't want to go through both field spells with this deck. You'd much rather just keep one of them. So that's one way of doing that. And overall, the rocket cards are just too bad if you never want to draw more than one of it, and so that way you just want to minimize playing them at all. You could even make the argument to play only one Tracer, but at that point it just becomes a little too risky because you still will be drawing like quick launch Tracer. So we want to get the most out of that, because drawing this is super fine, and if you only play one Tracer it just becomes too bad, and quick launch is just too good of a card going second, especially with all of the summon limits running around. It's just too important to get that Tuna access ASAP. And then for non-engine, Imperm, Veiler, Ash. You could argue Ash, Nip over Ash, but the format is too diverse here at a regional level or on Dueling Book. There's way too much stun on Dueling Book and at regional level. So I decided to just play the Ash over the Nips. At a YCS level, you could argue to play Nip over Ash, just like, yeah, the likelihood that you're playing through, like, against stun is only really there, like, the first few rounds. Afterwards, it becomes fine. And then if you are planning to win, having a Nip in the top card main deck with the Bystials is just way too good, because it also synergizes super well with Bystials. You can force them out, get rid of most of their bodies, and then they want to summon IP, bam, Magnemite or Drew's Form, whatever, and then suddenly they are kind of screwed. They don't have a lot of disruption. You already have 2 bodies on board. That's really, really good. You love to see that. But like I said, it's a little too iffy. It's a little too iffy for my taste. So, extra deck. Let's go from the back, because like I said, I already did everything. I play 1 or 2 because we maxed out on Bystials, and it's just really, really good to turn 2 of your extenders into full combo. That means that the extender is broken as hell. Of course, yeah, Bystials need the setup, but usually this format you do have the setup for the Bystials, and I really, really like their tomb, especially because I like to side out like the Ravine, 1-for-1, Samsara, Apsaradas, going second against matchups where Dark is really good, because the amount of times that you would go for a Romulus over Dark is very, very, very low, because Dark can get something out of their graveyard. You can crash it, search your levy, which is just way better going second than Romulus. Because, yeah, Romulus gets imperm, suddenly you have nothing. But Dark, if Dark gets imperm, you still have the crash, right? So, in my opinion, I prefer going into a Dark going second than into a Romulus. Most of the Romulus cards are bricks, so you can get rid of a Dragon Ravine, a Samsara, a 1-for-1 and an Apsarada. That's 4 engine pieces out. You can fill with non-engine. Most of them you don't want to draw whatsoever, apart from like a 1-for-1 maybe if you have the hand in a hand trap war, or like a Samsara if you don't have a normal summon, or like Apsarada if you have quick launch. So all of these are never good draws by themselves. They always require more in the hand. So getting rid of them going second, getting more non-engine in, and then still having a game plan of just going into Dark is really, really good. But then you don't have the toolboxy vibe of the deck, so you get that via Attuned. So a huge fan of the Attuned technology. Baron, you could cut this, but I like it to have an answer against summon limit in engine to some degree, because if you have quick launch and a Bystial, you can Bystial in the opponent's turn, then summon the quick launch, normal summon Tracer, whatever, go into Baron, and then you have an answer against summon limit. Of course, this only works like in a very simplified game state, but if they had full combo plus summon limit, you probably weren't gonna win anyways. So just having the in-engine answer is very important in my opinion. Savage, Dispater, you don't go into them a lot, but they are nice to have. Zeraboros, very interesting card. Shout out to Joffro from the Dragon Boys Discord. In general, shout out to all of them. Helped me a decent amount in deck building, and just always have it's nice having a different approach, a different perspective on a deck. But in theory, you can make this against Snake Eyes a lot, going second to get rid of all of their follow-up, because once they resolve their Flame Burst, suddenly they have most of their bodies on the board, and then you can just make a Zeraboros, get rid of an Oak, get rid of a Popular, get rid of a Flame Burst, just getting rid of most of their follow-up. Is very, very important, because suddenly then you are able to play into their board again, or like they aren't able to play into your board. If you make this and then follow it up by like maybe like a non-engine and like maybe one disruption, a seal, a savage, maybe you can even make a Borderland afterwards. It's very, very strong. So I really, really liked it. It's like it's an insane bomb, similar to like Chaos Angel. Or like Typhon, but I think these just come up a little more. Typhon, I wasn't a huge fan in Dragon Link with it. And Chaos Angel, definitely, I missed it a few times, similar to a second seal. So it's either this, a second seal, or Chaos Angel. I think I will have to do more testing and figure out the lines where this would actually come up and be beneficial compared to other options. But I'm a huge fan of it in theory. I really, really like it. And then for the rest of the links, access code Dark, generic, made access code OTKs a lot, so definitely would still be playing that. Thought about cutting it, but definitely will be playing it. Borderland, Triple Burst, Pisty, Standard, SP, IP, Standard, Seal, Romulus, Striker. Like I said, a second seal would be nice, especially with lots of stun running around. Like you can definitely like get rid of their skill drains a fair bit amount, make them burn some life points while reactivating them, and then you can go for a game a little earlier, or you can get rid of other floodgates to be able to play. But it's mostly just seal bouncing the skill drain, being able to get your things going. Very, very important. For the side deck, I was playing 3 anti-spell. This floodgate respects stun the most, and I just didn't want to deal with stun all too much, so anti-spell felt the greatest. Still not a huge fan of playing the floodgates over like something like Solemn Strike or Solemn Judgment, just because these can just be a little awkward and don't do anything at all. Yeah, against Snake Eye, it's gonna do something every time, but it's still not gonna stop them completely. So if they hand trap you to death and you anti-spell them, and they have the ability to play through that, it's just a little annoying. They have popular hard draw, like popular wanted Ash. They're still gonna play through the anti-spell, right? So it just feels so awkward sometimes. And if there was a strike and they had that hand, they probably weren't able to play through that. Maybe they would with that hand, but you get the point, right? This is a little awkward, even though we barely play any spells. Sometimes this just isn't enough, and a summon limit would be better, but then you don't have enough against stun. It's super, super awkward. Branded Beast to respect stun going first. Rivalry is an auto-win floodgate. Like I said, at a YCS level, I could see myself just playing this in the main deck and cutting the 1-for-1 and the Samsara package if we were like in a tier 0-esque format. Because yeah, this is also still good against Voiceless Voice and Branded, so it's not completely dead there. But I'm just not a huge fan of playing the floodgate in the main deck. I don't know what it is. It just feels too iffy and not clean enough, but I think it's so cheesy that it actually works, and maybe I should do that. But for now, I'm not doing it. 3 nip in the side. Like I said, you can swap them for Ashes if you are more scared of Snake Eyes, but because there's enough other decks in the format, at least here in Germany, I am putting them in the side deck. 2 Baldrake to max out on Bystials, and then 3 Cosmic, 2 Lightning Storm to respect stun, and Floodgates in other matchups. So these are usually there against Voiceless Voice, especially. You can side in the Cosmic against Snake Eyes as well, but I don't think they're good enough there. But I still put them in over Lightning Storms because I plan to Bystial them, and the Cosmic still trades with an Imperm, gets rid of their field spell, or like a summon limit. So usually they are good enough going second, and you do have the space by siding out the Ravine package, of course. So that is for the deck profile. I hope you really enjoyed this. I'm definitely going to be back on the Dragon Link grind. I'm trying to stream a little more here and there, so definitely check out my Twitch. We'll be going there, just playing some Dueling Book with Dragon Link, just vibing. So if you want to have a chill time, definitely go there. Link is in the description, and I will be doing more Dragon Link content again, especially gonna make a video on how to beat Snake Eyes. So all of my tips and tricks which I learned in this format with Dragon Link, beating that deck. It's definitely still an uphill-ish battle, but it's definitely still doable if you are playing accordingly. So hope you guys are going to be interested in that and more Dragon Link content in general. Also, we will be taking a look at Temper Dragons very, very shortly. Even though they're not Dragon Link and I'm not excited to play them because they're super boring, I still think it's going to be a worthwhile approach. I did try to test a lot into like an any engine-ish deck, like putting like a Dragon Ruler deck and playing Temper Dragons as an engine. Don't think it's going to be worth it. I did a video on that, so if you are interested in that, I can maybe still upload it, but I figured the deck was so bad, it's not even worth it. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed today's class. Class is dismissed. You guys are free to leave. Professor Sunreis out. Peace.